In the shadows of forgotten legends, fear still breathes. Welcome to Peculiar Bong.
For the first 3 centuries of the Roman Empire, religion was a deeply pluralistic, local affair. A walk down a city street meant passing dozens of active shrines, mystery cults, and altars dedicated to nature spirits. Offering a sacrifice to a local god was an ordinary, expected part of civic life. Before the 4th century, these traditions were overwhelmingly dominant. This chart shows the distribution of faiths across the empire, where early Christians lived as a heavily persecuted minority, making up roughly 10% of the population. That dynamic flipped when Emperor Constantine converted. For the first time, the unmatched bureaucratic and military weight of the imperial throne aligned with the Christian faith. Within a generation and a half, the entire social order inverted. By the late 4th century, the state had begun actively outlawing the very polytheistic traditions that had defined Rome for a millennium. The consequences of this shift were physical and permanent. Authorities extinguished the sacred fire in the Temple of Vesta, disbanded the Vestal Virgins, and reduced monolithic stone temples to rubble. This rapid disappearance of the old gods relied on a calculated, 2-pronged strategy: violent state coercion and systematic cultural assimilation. The first mechanism of erasure was hard power. Once church leaders gained the ear of the emperors, they used Roman law to dismantle the institutional foundations of their rivals. In 380 AD, Emperor Theodosius I declared Nicene Christianity the only legitimate imperial religion, effectively ending state support for all other faiths. Between 389 and 391, the Theodosian decrees established a practical ban on paganism. These laws closed temples, converted ancient holidays into workdays, and criminalized the traditional practice of taking auspices. Imperial legislation provided the necessary cover for physical violence.
In 391, Christian mobs demolished the Serapeum of Alexandria, one of the most significant temple complexes in the ancient world. This state-sponsored erasure continued for centuries, expanding into northern Europe under the Frankish king Charlemagne. During the Saxon Wars, Charlemagne enforced conversion through massacres and strict legal codes. He prescribed the death penalty for anyone who refused baptism or continued to make ritual offerings to sacred trees and wells. This regime of hard power transformed the practice of ancestral traditions into a capital crime against the state. While force could level stone temples, it could not easily stop people from worshiping in secret or maintaining their ancestral culture. To bridge this gap, the church used syncretism, the strategic blending of suppressed traditions into Christian frameworks. Missionaries repurposed local customs rather than trying to delete them. They rebranded the seasonal calendar to match the new faith. The Celtic harvest festival of Samhain became All Saints' Day, while the spring festival of Ostara was adapted into Easter, keeping the old symbolism of rebirth intact. This assimilation included the visual language of the old gods. For centuries, Mediterranean worshippers had venerated the Egyptian goddess Isis, often depicted nursing her infant son, Horus. The church absorbed this maternal iconography directly. Early depictions of the Virgin Mary and the baby Jesus were styled to mirror the posture and composition of Isis, making the new faith feel familiar to populations who had worshipped the mother goddess for generations. This created a sociological phenomenon known as two faiths, particularly in rural areas. Peasants would attend Christian Mass while simultaneously using ancient pagan magic to protect their homes and ensure a successful harvest. By wrapping the new religion in the cultural clothes of the old, syncretism achieved a level of quiet assimilation that physical violence alone could not. By the late Middle Ages, the dual campaign had succeeded. Public paganism was dead across Europe and the Mediterranean, replaced by a singular religious institution. The real legacy was the institutional bond between political authority and religious exclusivity, a model of governance that would define European states for the next 1,000 years. The Church's strategy created a lasting irony. To completely replace paganism, Christianity was forced to absorb its cultural DNA. Because of this reliance on assimilation, the ancient gods were never truly eradicated. Their presence persists today in the specific timing of our holidays, the names on our calendars, and the rituals of our daily folklore.
Do not close your eyes. They are waiting for us.